My name is Lisa Mack. I'm your 2022 AABA President. Welcome.
Lisa, don't touch that.
Oh. Thank you so much. And I just want your attention for 15 minutes. We have a very brief program during the reception. We'd like to introduce some of our AABA Law Foundation scholarship recipients for this year. So I'm going to turn it over to Celia Lee, who is our AABA Law Foundation President. Thank you, Celia.
Thank you, Lisa. So I have a request. I would like all our scholarship recipients to come up near the stage, please. I see Valerie. I see Eugenia. Are Seraphin and Eric here? Okay, maybe not. They're coming from Stanford. So, in any event, we'll adjust. So, good evening, everyone. I'm kind of not sure what way to face. Please, thank you. I'm so happy to see old friends in person here at the reception. And we are here to give out our AABA Law Foundation scholarships. I should say our traditional, historical AABA Law Foundation scholarships, because we have an embarrassment of riches and we have so many scholarships to give out these days. So I think all of you know the AABA Law Foundation is a charitable arm of AABA, and we have essentially two purposes: to financially assist law students who show a commitment to the Asian Pacific American community, and also to provide assistance to our community as a whole, and that is in the form of grants to public interest organizations. So before we award the scholarships tonight, I would like to acknowledge and thank the rest of the AABA Law Foundation board. My fellow officers, Deanna Gann and Chris Noma, are here somewhere. Our immediate past president, Stanley Young, right here. And rounding out our roster are Lawrence Chu, Dorothy Liu, and Marie Ma. So we are all volunteer. We read every single application, and we are, pleased to do this work to continue to support our community. So tonight at this reception, we are awarding to 4 exceptional students our established annual ALF scholarships. And those scholarships are the AABA Law Foundation Scholarship, the Asian Pacific American Judges Scholarship, the Raymond L. Ocampo Jr. Family Scholarship, and also the Joseph and Chang Morozumi Scholarship. So I need to switch things around a little bit, so I think, Gina, I will start with you. Our first recipient of our Raymond L. Ocampo Jr. Family Scholarship is Eugenia Wang from UC Berkeley. So, ALF awards the Ocampo Scholarship through the generosity of Raymond L. Ocampo Jr. He established a scholarship in memory of his parents and in honor of immigrants like them who came to the United States for a better life. And Eugenia was a natural fit, and I'll explain in a second. As I mentioned, she's a 3L at Berkeley Law. She's a second. Yeah, go Bears. She's a second generation Korean American and the first in her family to attend a 4-year university and law school. She received her undergrad degree from Stanford University, where she was a Gates Millennium Scholar. Do you guys know how big of a deal that is? And she worked for a plaintiff side litigation firm before going to law school. So as a litigator, Eugenia has plans to go to litigation. I'm very pleased about that. So at Berkeley, from the get-go, she started pro bono work as a first year, which, not a lot of us recommend because you're supposed to concentrate on your studies, but she has maintained that service in 3 years of law school. She worked first with the Workers' Rights Clinic, and then she expanded to the area of civil rights and technology. She actually wrote a student note in connection with the Berkeley Center for Law and Technology, which Ray Ocampo founded. So it's a nice circle there. So she now focuses her interests on digital Fourth Amendment issues and areas, access to technology for underserved students. And she serves as articles editor for the California Law Review. After graduation, Eugenia is headed to a clerkship with the Ninth Circuit with Judge John Owens and looks forward to a career in litigation. So please join me in congratulating and celebrating Eugenia Wong.
Thank you, Celia, so much for the really generous introduction. It's such an honor to be here today, and I'm really humbled by AABA's generosity in granting me the Ocampo Scholarship. As many of you guys might resonate, being a first-generation student and being a child of immigrants, there's obviously a lot of financial burden that comes with studying for the bar exam. So this scholarship will allow me to pursue just focusing on this bar exam right before I start my clerkship this August. And this scholarship is beyond just like financial support. It's also a recognition of my family's struggle in immigrating to the States from Korea. And just like a very short story, my grandmother's always been a model of resilience and strength in my family, and she recently passed away, but I know that she would be really proud to see me here today in such great company. She dropped out of high school when she was 15 to support for her family after her father passed away in post-war Korea. So we've come a really long way since then. And I thank AABA's board for allowing me to share my story and allow me to feel seen and heard throughout the process. So thank you so much. I'm really excited to come to future galas and meet all of you. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Valerie Kim Opit. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Our next recipient is Valerie Kim Opit. Through the generosity of Dale Manami, Michael Lee, Joan Haratani, the Foundation awards the Joseph and Chang Morizumi Scholarship to Valerie. Joe Morizumi was one of the first Asian American trial lawyers in the Bay Area. Interned with his family during World War II, he was fiercely committed to fighting for reparations, and he was also one of the earliest Asian American attorneys to represent political activists pro bono. Joe was an inspirational role model. He was fearless, tireless, a zealous advocate for justice for the poor and the powerless. It is this same fighting spirit, tireless advocacy, and insistence on justice that is the hallmark of our new recipient, Valerie. She is our environmental activist. I'd like to give you a little bit of her background. Before law school, she was a farmer. She owned a small farm business, worked as a livestock manager and a gardener, worked to increase access to food to the local population, and raised food stamp matching funds. Also, prior to law school, she was a local news reporter in Mendocino County, covering everything from mega fires to migrant workers, drought, judicial races. She toured jails, fire camps, interviewed inmates, farmers, and politicians. In covering these issues, she was ultimately moved to advocate, to go into advocacy, and to go to law school. Today, she is a current extern for public justice, working on the Food Project, which uses impact litigation to mitigate the harmful effects of factory farming and corporate agriculture on overburdened communities. She's currently assisting with efforts to mitigate pollution for industrial dairy and hog farms in the San Joaquin Valley. This summer, she's going to be working for the Environment and Natural Resources section of the California Attorney General's office. And if all that weren't enough, Valerie is a mother of 2 and just recently gave birth 9 months ago to her second child. So Valerie, come up here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity to be recognized and join a distinguished lineage of inspiring advocates in the Bay Area. Such a rich history of Asian American advocacy, and I'm really, really proud to join that legacy. I don't know much about Joe Morizumi, but from what I've heard, he was quite the individual, and I imagine took a lot of his strength in fighting oppression from his own oppression and from his internment. And, you know, we've had hard times in the last few years. I think we can all agree. Personally, I derive an immense amount of comfort and strength from people like Joe who have walked before us and confronted these struggles and have done it with determination, grit, and just an unending fight. And I really hope to be part of that. My own legacy, my great-grandfather was the first democratically elected mayor of Seoul, and he was imprisoned several times as a political dissident, but he kept getting up and fighting. And I think that's what we all are called to do in this moment. So I'm really pleased to be part of the legacy of people who are trying to make the world a better place. And this scholarship is going to enable me to do that, chiefly in paying for childcare this summer. So anyhow, I won't go on much longer, but just thank you so much to Dale, Joan, and Michael for funding this scholarship, and to AABA for mentoring the next generation of advocates. And I hope to be worthy of Joe's legacy. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to announce the recipient of the AABA Law Foundation Scholarship. The AABA Law Foundation Scholarship is a scholarship funded solely by AABA members and donors. And I'm happy to announce that the recipient is Serafin Dhanani of Stanford Law School. She's sitting right there. Yeah. Serafin impressed the board with her many accomplishments, and including, first off, her initiative in assisting low-income students of color at her college. She went to Wellesley, and where she established a program to assist underserved Asian students. Now, as we all know, the model minority exists, unfortunately, and Wellesley at the time did not really recognize that there were Asian students who needed a little bit more help and who didn't have the resources that a lot of other students had. But Serafin, before going to Wellesley, Serafin grew up in a small town in Texas called Sugar Land. And she she's a first generation. She assisted her family in essentially in trying to make it as a first generation family. And you know, with those economic struggles along the way. So the program that I spoke about at Wellesley became an actual Wellesley program from what Serafin did, and it's called the First Gen Network now. And I believe it still exists to assist first generation students. After college, Serafin worked at the Federal Reserve Bank and embarked on a journey of learning about economic policy in order to assist underserved communities in the United States. Can we get some quiet in here, please? Thank you. Her immediate aim is to serve in the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, which I was personally not aware this office existed, but it's a principal group which is concerned with helping to safeguard America's national security by assisting underserved communities with technological literacy, essentially, and helping them restart their lives through economic empowerment. As we have seen in the past 2 years of the pandemic, access to technology when we can't all be in person is very important. Access to things like just filing for unemployment benefits is very important, and this office helps communities do that. Seraphin sees her future in either government service or international service, with the long-term goal of possibly serving as an elective representative. And from her application, I can see it. And we would be happy to vote for you, Seraphin, when the time comes. So I present to you Seraphin Dhanani. Thank you.
Thank you, AABA, and thank you to all of you for supporting these ambitions. My parents immigrated from Pakistan, and that's really where my story begins. They had bounties placed on their heads, and so my dad remembers receiving the golden ticket to the United States, and in his eyes, there was no job more honorable than to be an immigrant's first point of contact to this country. And so, like many Asian parents, he decided he knew what was best for me and decided that I would be a Foreign Service officer. And so my fate was sealed. I embarked on trying to find this career in diplomacy, and over time I realized that diplomacy took on very different forms in my life. Often it came in the form of helping my dad navigate the welfare system. And at the Federal Reserve, it came in the form of helping, the United States Central Bank interact with the central banks overseas. And so public service is really at my core. I am hopeful to be a diplomat in whatever form that may come in, and I'm grateful to all of you for supporting these ambitions, and I hope very much that I make you proud. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Judge Joni Hiramoto, Contra Costa Superior Court. Our next recipient is Eric Fung. He's the recipient of the Asian Pacific American Judges Scholarship. This scholarship was made possible by the generous donations of the APA judges, and we thank you for your generosity. We'd also like to thank Judge Delbert G., Alameda County Superior Court, who has been organizing this scholarship every year. Thank you, Judge G. Eric Fung is a Stanford 3L, and he is nothing short of extraordinary. He grew up in East Oakland in Fruitvale. His parents arrived as Vietnamese refugees with little more than a middle school education. He was the first in his family to go to college and to go to law school. Life was not easy for his family. They survived on housing vouchers and government assistance. He witnessed firsthand the violence on the streets of Oakland, the bloody street brawls, the police action, and extreme poverty all around him. And he noticed the direct school to prison pipeline. It was with these experiences growing up that inspired Eric to go to law school and to develop the necessary legal advocacy skills to bring back to the places that needed it most, East Oakland and similar communities. Toward that end in law school, he worked for the Federal Public Defenders in Oakland, the Washington, D.C. Workers' Rights Clinic, the Stanford Clean Slate Project, and he's a full-time student in the Stanford Community Law Clinic, working with clients on urban poverty issues. Eric, we are so impressed with you, and we're so proud to offer you the APA Judges Scholarship.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And thank you everyone for being here tonight. Also definitely thank you to all AABA and all of the Asian American judges who funded this scholarship. Like Deanna said, I'm from East Oakland, and it really is a privilege every time I get to be in a room with people like you all. And I really thank all of you for the support that makes it possible for, a first generation college student to make it to a place like here. I grew up in a way that the law pervaded everything that we did, from school to home, to the policies that shaped the neighborhoods we lived in. And I never met a lawyer in my life until I went to law school. And so I'm really glad that there are communities like this that support this type of scholarship, so that becomes less and less true, and that my experience doesn't have to be so rare. But I want to thank everyone for tonight.
All right, thank you again to the AABA Law Foundation for all your work this year, and congratulations again to this year's scholarship recipients. Please enjoy the rest